Florida mom gang banged by daughter's friends, cops uncovered details. A 40-year-old mother from Bradenton, Florida, was gang banged by 5 of her daughter's male friends from high school. The illicit encounter went down during a party at her home in Manatee County. When the cops showed up at the scene, the woman was drunk, and they soon learned the sick reason why it all went down. Jamie Ayer from Bradenton, Florida, has been arrested for having sex with 5 of her teenage daughter's male friends, according to the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. Detectives say that Ayer's child hosted a party at her Florida home and invited students from 2 local high schools. According to the probable cause affidavit, Ayer arrived home the night of the party and began commingling with the students. She also gave alcohol to the teenagers. This started a series of events which spiraled out of control very quickly. After supplying the teens partying at her house with alcohol, Jamie Ayer told one of the male students that she needed help showering. The teen helped her shower, and she then had sex with a 16-year-old and 17-year-old at the party, according to the Bradenton Herald. Originally, authorities believed that these were Ayer's only victims, and she was charged with 3 counts of unlawful sexual activity. However, as time went on and the story behind the alcohol-fueled evening evolved, a total of 5 victims were identified. Ayer had sex with all of them, and 3 of them were only 16 years old. Ultimately, Ayer was charged with an additional 4 counts of unlawful sexual activity, bringing the grand total to 7 charges for the 40-year-old mother. Apparently, she had first had sex with a boy she convinced to help her in the shower, and as they had intercourse, 2 other male attendees at her daughter's party watched. Eventually, those boys had sex with her too. Before the party was over, a total of 5 underage boys had gang-banged Ayer, who appeared intoxicated when deputies arrived at her home to arrest her, according to the Miami Herald. Sadly, Ayer's daughter witnessed the illicit activity, according to the arrest affidavit. It seems that as time goes on, reports involving middle-aged women sleeping with minor boys become more and more common. This is a sick trend which is not always taken seriously enough. When young girls are defiled by older men, outrage rightfully ensues, as their innocence has been stolen. However, on the contrary, when teenage boys are taken advantage of by older women, oftentimes, they are given a pat on the back, or the defilement elicits comments like, "Where was she when I was 17?" This double standard isn't just wrong, it's harmful. Perhaps if we began to take this crime more seriously, it would not be such a widespread epidemic.
All right, well, you heard it. So, mom is a gangbanger, and not the kind that commits acts of violence. She's a sexual gangbanger. So I decided to do a brief reading about Jamie Ayers. And she basically, as you heard in the video, she had sex with 5 of her daughter's friends. So I'm just going to discuss her chart in brief. I'm not going to be long about this because this doesn't, warrant too much of attention. But it does basically show you, sign of the times. A lot of people are being ruled by their lower self. A lot of people are operating on a low vibrational level, and sex is a big part of it. So let me just share my screen and we're going to get into her chart. So Jamie Ayer was born December 14th, 1976. That makes her a Sagittarius. She's a very strong Sagittarius with this stellium in Sagittarius, Sun conjunct Mars and Neptune. Just the Sun conjunct Mars in Sagittarius alone can make her wild, wanton, hypersexual, whorish even, and irresponsible. She's basically all about partying and having fun. That Mars conjoined to Neptune, Mars-Neptune conjunction, points to her being a drunk. She has a problem with alcohol. That can also point to her not having any boundaries, acting out her fantasies in real life, having loose morals, scandalous behavior, which resulted in legal problems. Also, you could look at that Mars conjunct Neptune as freedom is sacrificed just as a result of being hypersexual, hedonistic. Also, she's very impulsive with Sun conjoined to Mars. Interesting thing is she had sex with 3 16-year-old boys and 2 17-year-old boys. And if you notice, Mars is at the 17th degree and Saturn is at the 16th degree of Leo. Leo is just reinforcing the youth theme. Now, let me talk about her birth number for a minute. So she's a 14. 14s can have challenges with movement, whether in the literal sense or in the mental sense. So in her case, it's very much the literal sense because she did get arrested and then she did have to serve some jail time. I think it was a little bit under a year. And then she also had to be in this probation sex offender program, and she's now a registered sex offender. So movement challenge that can even deal with where she has to live. You know, some communities don't want sex offenders there, and you do have to notify the community once you move to, you know, that area if you are a sex offender. So all of that goes into play. But also her being a 14 is pointing to her the friends. Like, so 1 in terms of numerology deals with children and 4 deals with friendship. So that is the epitome of her daughter's friends. Also 14 breaks down to 5, so that points to the school. She basically had sex with boys from 2 different schools, and also that's kind of like, what will the neighbors think? Now, her Neptune's also at the 14th degree, so that's just corresponding to that 14 birth number, and that's just reinforcing the alcohol theme in her chart, being drunk. Now, again, her sun in Sagittarius is at the 22nd degree of Sagittarius, and that echoes her birth number of 31 because they both break down to 4. And 31, some of them, not all of them, but 31s could live a life of being a freak, can be prone to perverted tendencies, can be weird. Nudity could be a major theme. So she might have been already kind of scantily clad around those boys. And it can also result in being ostracized. It can result in shocking behavior, and where a story is just unreal, like in her situation. Also, the friend theme is compounded with that 31 life path number. And then again, sun at the 22nd degree, that's like her daughter's friends because the sun rules children. So the sun is in quincunx with Jupiter, and that could point to her going overboard with her sensual appetites, you could say. You could say she has an insatiable appetite with that sun, quincunx Jupiter. But that also points to a lot of money having to be spent for an attorney, more than likely. It can make her outlandish, and where her desires could override her value system. Basically, this hoe can't get enough. Now, her sun is conjoined to the fixed star Ras Al Hag, and that can result in being perverted. It could bring trouble with women. So I'm pretty sure she heard a mouthful from some of these boys' mothers. And it can also deal with involvement with drugs. Alcohol is a drug, and she could have been taking other drugs as well. The sun is conjoined to the fixed star Lasat, and that can manifest as immorality. So she's basically an immoral person. The interesting thing is Sagittarius does deal with morality, but with that sun, quincunx, Jupiter, with Mars conjunct Neptune, that can deal with where she has some loose morals. She also has sun square moon. And sun square moon can often produce a case of arrested development. And it produces a certain degree of immaturity. And in her case, because that moon is in Virgo, that can point to her need to feel young. And that results in her having bad judgment. Also, moon in Virgo women, some of them could play the damsel in distress role. So it makes me think of her asking the kid to help her with the shower. Also, this square is showing a lack of modesty and a lack of decorum. Again, going back to that Saturn is at the 16th degree of Leo, and that 16 can point to crossing boundaries. But also, like I said, that just compounds the theme of the age of those boys. So crossing boundaries with her daughter in particular, because these were her daughter's friends. Being drunk all the time, or, you know, when she wants to party, she probably gets faded with that Saturn at the 16th degree of Leo. A need to feel young with Saturn in Leo, that can just happen naturally. Fear of getting old, and a dire need for attention. Saturn is squaring Uranus in Scorpio. Here it is right here. And that is basically pointing to the violation that took place that resulted in criminal charges, her having sex with her daughter's friends and the sexual perversion. Saturn is running contraparallel to Bacchus, and that can point to being drunk, but also an addiction, addictive tendencies. What's interesting is Uranus is at the 10th degree of Scorpio, and that 10th degree can be seen as a gangbang or a train, sexually, that is. Now, it all goes back to the South Node in Taurus, North Node in Scorpio. Both are at the 0 degree. That's like pure Taurus and pure Scorpio energy. So yeah, her sexual urges are very strong. And then her sensual appetites are very strong as well. So she's just in that type of dark hallway where she can't seem to get a grip on her need to be satisfied sexually, you could say. Now, her South Node is conjoined to Chiron and Aries, and that basically is her having a hard time resisting cute males, you could say. So her seeing these young, cute males, and she's just getting horny and she can't even resist. You could also look at that as deviant acts cost her her integrity, cost her money. I look at this conjunction between the South Node and Chiron as the scarlet letter. It's like she has a mark against her now. And Chiron is opposing the asteroid Eros, which reinforces the hypersexuality theme, but that also is pointing to her being a registered sex offender. Chiron is also conjoined to the fixed star vertex, and that can cause her to be merciless, uncaring, especially towards her daughter, and a dispenser of punishment. So that could just result in somebody, maybe this is representing the judge. So on the positive end, it's positive for her. This Sagittarius stellium is in trine with Saturn and Leo, which basically shows you, yes, she was able to get her jollies off. She was able to be sexually satisfied by these boys. So you can look at that as a gangbang aspect. And because this trine is here, I'm thinking this wasn't the first time that she's done this. Maybe it was the first time she did it with her friends, her daughter's friends. But she's probably the type that goes out to a bar and brings a few guys home with her, or they go to a hotel or whatever, because that could be drunken orgies. You could look at that trine as a free-for-all. When she gets to drinking, anybody can get it. She an equal opportunity hoe. Also, Venus is in Aquarius, which can represent her daughter's friends, and it's squaring the North Node, it's squaring the South Node. So this right here is pointing to her hypersensual nature with Venus square South Node, values and decency basically going out the window. And that Venus in Aquarius, again, the friendship, but it can also deal with perversion as well. Venus is squaring that Scorpio North Node, and that points to them basically those boys coming out with the truth. Her being investigated, the boys being questioned, and next thing you know, the truth comes out, and now she has to face the consequences, criminal charges, all of that stuff. It also deals with where she brought disgust upon herself, people looking at her with disgust. Now, she has Mercury in Capricorn, which can mean that, she already kind of felt old before her time. And then with Mercury square Pluto, just Mercury in Capricorn alone can bring a need for her to feel like she's in control of someone or something. It also points to themes of respect, maturity, and reputation. But Mercury is squaring Pluto, and that can point to a loss of respect. Sexual urges cost her respect, where she can't get a grip upon her sexual urges, causes her to lose control, easily influenced by people, or you could even say external factors, having a corrupted mind. And it also points to the criminal charges being filed, her reputation being tarnished as a result of what she did, and where she's under tough scrutiny. So that's basically my little reading on this super hoe mom is a gangbanger and not the kind that you would think of. But yeah, so it happens and it's starting to happen more and more. So you got to protect your kids, man. Protect your sons, protect your daughters, because there is a bunch of adult predators out here that are just waiting to hop on your kids. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I'll be back later tonight for a Libra live stream. Stay tuned.